Hello, my fellow heathens. What do you think Harry Potter, the number 11, and Madame Blavatsky have in common? If you guessed J.K. Rowling, you would be correct. I am responding to another deceitful conspiracy nut who has to twist reality to fit his narrative. The name of this channel is Good Fight Ministries, and the name of this video is Harry Potter Exposed. Yes, that's right, the fictional wizard. I hope you enjoy. Welcome back to another episode of Truth or Drink. For those of you new to this format, the rules are very simple. When you hear this sound, you take a drink.
J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series is the most popular children's book series ever written. Rowling's books and the subsequent movies based upon her books have helped initiate countless children into different forms of occult ideology.
That was not her intention, but if Harry Potter influences people to study the occult, then that is their choice. Although if one believes they will be able to perform such miracles as in the fictional world of Harry Potter, they are in for a serious disappointment.
While Rowling acknowledges that sometimes it will take as much as a week to work something out in her stories, she admits that the initial story of Harry Potter and many of the other characters came in a stream of consciousness. Rowling admitted, quote, Harry as a character came fully formed, as did the idea of his sidekicks, the characters of Ron and Hermione, who was the brains of the threesome. She said, it started with Harry, then all three characters and situations came flooding into my head.
She has a vivid imagination. Great writers are able to visualize and tell a story that captures the imagination of their fans. That's why they are successful.
Rowling describes the way that she writes as though she is often in a stream of consciousness, and that at times she is only taking notes of things she sees and hears in what sound like visions. She states, quote, I see a situation and then I try to describe it as vividly as I can, end quote. I have a very visual imagination. I see it, then I try to describe what is in my mind's eye.
That's what all artists do. They are able to vividly describe or portray things fantastical and emotionally moving to which others can perceive.
For author J.K. Rowling, it all started on a train. It was 1990, and she was traveling from Manchester to London. Rowling describes her own writing ability in writing the Harry Potter series, much in the same way she describes the channeling of spirits that takes place in the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Is it possible that J.K. Rowling herself is being used by spirit entities to indoctrinate our children into witchcraft?
No. The people who would be interested in Harry Potter are already interested in wizards and dragons and fantasy worlds. You're assuming the books influence the audience, and it is the other way around.
Joanne Rowling not only describes her introduction to her main characters in such a way as describing what she sees, but Rowling states that when she writes the dialogue between characters, she simply takes notes from what she hears almost audibly. She states, quote, and I do love writing dialogue. Dialogue comes to me as though I'm just overhearing a conversation, end quote.
That's why she's a good writer. Do you think that every writer or anyone involved in dialogue for stage, book, and screen are possessed by entities? Or do you believe they have inner dialogues with disembodied spirits?
Blavatsky is an obvious reference to H.P. Blavatsky, as Blavatsky is a perfect anagram for Blavatsky, who shares the same initials as Harry Potter. Her name is usually written as H.P. Blavatsky.
Cassandra Blavatsky is an imaginary author of an imaginary book from an imaginary supply list for an imaginary school. It would not be surprising if Madame Blavatsky's name was used for the fictional author. You know who you should look into? Miranda Goshaw. She has 7 books on that imaginary supply list. I'm sure this has some significance in your crazy-ass world of nonsense. I mean, come on. 7 imaginary books? You do know the magical significance of the number 7, right? You are dropping the ball here.
Blavatsky's book, Unfogging the Future, is listed as a divination text at the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry in the Harry Potter series, and recalls Isis Unveiled.
Isis Unveiled is a real book written by Madame Blavatsky. It was published in September of 1877,
which is Blavatsky's first major work. Blavatsky is, of course, along with Satanist Aleister Crowley, a Gnostic founder of the modern-day New Age movement, or Neo-Gnosticism.
Aleister Crowley was not a Satanist, nor was Madame Blavatsky. Although they lived relatively around the same time, neither seems to have been involved with the other. Crowley was interested in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the OTO, and starting his own magical orders, whereas Madame Blavatsky was interested in Eastern mysticism, Christian mysticism, and theosophy.
Blavatsky in her Secret Doctrine quotes occultist Eliphas Levi approvingly, stating, quote, "Satan is the angel who is proud enough to believe himself God, brave enough to buy his independence at the price of eternal suffering and torture, beautiful enough to have adored himself in full divine light, strong enough to reign in darkness amidst agony, and to have built himself a throne on his inextinguishable pyre. The prince of anarchy, served by a hierarchy of pure spirits."
The text you pulled from Madame Blavatsky's book Anthropogenesis is incomplete. Blavatsky misquoted Levi. It is that angel who was proud enough to believe himself God, brave enough to buy his independence at the price of eternal suffering and torture, beautiful enough to have adored himself in full divine light, strong enough to reign in darkness amidst agony, and have built himself a throne on his inextinguishable pyre. It is the Satan of the Republican and heretical Milton, the prince of anarchy served by a hierarchy of pure spirits. History of Magick, page 16 through 17. You left out the sentence, "It is the Satan of the Republican and heretical Milton." I wonder why you did that. In addition, to make matters worse, Blavatsky misquoted Eliphas Levi. The text in red was removed. It should read, "It is the false Lucifer of the heterodox legend, that angel proud enough to think that he was God, brave enough to buy independence at the price of eternal torment, beautiful enough to worship himself in the plenary divine light, strong enough to reign still in darkness and in dole, and to make a throne of his inextinguishable fire. It is the Satan of the heretical and republican Milton, the pretended hero of black eternities, culminated by deformity, bedecked with horns and talons, which would better become his implacable tormentor. It is the devil who is king of evil, as if evil were a kingdom. Who is more intelligent than men of genius that fear his wiles? It is that black light, that darkness with eyes, that power which God has not willed, but which no fallen creature could create, that prince of anarchy served by a hierarchy of pure spirits."
We saw earlier how both Blavatsky and Crowley taught that Satan liberated humanity from the Creator as he initiated Eve in the Garden of Eden.
No. Are you watching the same video? The only quote you pulled was from Madame Blavatsky, who pulled a badly translated quote from Eliphas Levi. You mentioned Crowley, but nothing about his writings on the subject. Blavatsky mentions nothing about Satan liberating humanity from the Creator or any initiation in the Garden of Eden.
Harry Potter's escape from the world of Muggles, which are non-magical human beings, is precipitated by a communication that takes place between Harry Potter and a serpent.
This has absolutely no parallels whatsoever to either Blavatsky's writings, Eliphas Levi's writings, or Aleister Crowley's writings, which I'm sure you will misquote later on.
Harry Potter escapes from the material world of the Muggles to the spiritual world of witchcraft and wizardry. After Harry Potter escapes the world of material illusions, he finds out that he actually has godlike powers. But it's interesting because J.K. Rowling also seems to be patterning the life of Harry Potter after the life of Satanist Aleister Crowley.
The fictional character of Harry Potter has absolutely nothing to do with Aleister Crowley, and I thought you said that J.K. Rowling based Harry Potter off of H.P. Blavatsky.
Blavatsky is an obvious reference to H.P. Blavatsky, as Blavatsky is a perfect anagram for Blavatsky, who shares the same initials as Harry Potter. Her name is usually written as H.P. Blavatsky.
Even pointing out the similarity of the fictional character of Cassandra Blavatsky.
Like Harry Potter, Crowley abandoned his strict upbringing, claiming that his mother was a tyrannical religious bigot.
Ugh. I can't believe I have to explain the difference between reality and fiction to some nut on YouTube. The parents of the fictional character Harry Potter were killed by Lord Voldemort. There is no mention of Harry Potter's mother Lily as being a religious tyrannical bigot. Crowley thought of his mother's religious devotion as holding her back, but not that she was tyrannical.
And went on to discover that he was a sorcerer joining several occult orders.
Really? And what were the several occult orders that Harry Potter joined? There was Hodwarts, and well, that's it.
Like Harry Potter, Crowley realized he was a wizard as a preteen. Crowley stated, quote, "Before I touched my teens, I was already aware that I was the beast, whose number is 666. While Crowley would claim to have committed several human sacrifices, he claimed that he killed his first cat at the age of 11.
What?
While Crowley would claim to have committed several human sacrifices, he claimed that he killed his first cat at the age of 11.
Crowley loved to embellish stories with allegory, which is famous in occult literature, as many things can have double meanings or be euphemisms for something else, and he indulged in shocking the gullible. In The Magick of Aleister Crowley, a handbook of the rituals of Thelema by Milo DuQuette, page 7-8, Lon writes, Crowley did not advocate or perform animal sacrifices for magical or religious purposes. Besides indulging in the hunting escapades of a proper British sportsman and the consumption of live clams and oysters, Crowley confessed to 3 murderous acts. 1. As a boy, he killed a cat to test the validity of the statement a cat has 9 lives. 2. As a young man, while attempting to go native in India, he paid for a goat to be sacrificed at the temple of Shiva. 3. Before dining on frog legs while camping in America, he performed a brief passion play before dressing the victim for the skillet. The claim that Crowley himself makes about killing a cat as an experiment to see if cats did in fact have 9 lives is most likely a joke, right up there with determining if the moon is in fact made of cheese and that the clouds are cotton candy. But again, I could be wrong. I only found 2 references to this, one from Milo DuQuette and another from Colin Wilson's Aleister Crowley Nature of the Beast. Neither give any more detail beyond the rumored claim. The claim, according to Crowley, was made around age 14, not age 11. As for human sacrifice, no, Aleister Crowley never murdered anyone, and he was never convicted of murder. Crowley masks the words blood, death, and kill for the words of semen, ecstasy, and ejaculation. He alludes to the double meaning several times throughout this chapter, even ending the chapter with the sentence, "You are also likely to get into trouble over this chapter unless you truly comprehend its meaning." In the footnote he wrote, "I have chosen the expressions in this chapter in such a way that it is likely to mislead those magicians who allow selfish interest to cloud their intelligence, but to give useful hints to such as are bound by the proper oaths to devote their powers to legitimate ends." As for the sorely misunderstood and most quoted paragraph in which Crowley writes a male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most suitable sacrifice, it appears from the magical records of Frater Perturbo that he made this particular sacrifice on average of about 115 times every year between 1912 and 1928. Contrast J.K. Huysman's Labas, where a perverted form of magic of an analogous order is described. It is the sacrifice of oneself spiritually, and the intelligence and innocence of that male child are the perfect understanding of the magician, his one aim, without lust of result. And male he must be, because what he sacrifices is not the material blood, but the creative power. This initiated interpretation of the text was sent spontaneously by Soror IWE for the sake of the younger brethren.
According to J.K. Rowling, Harry began to find out that he was a wizard at age 11.
Wow, Crowley and Harry Potter both were 11 years old? What are the odds? I bet if you dug a little deeper, you would find that they shared many ages together, such as age 10 and age 12. The evidence is just overwhelming.
In Harry Potter, the Goblet of Fire, page 20, it is stated, quote, "It had been enough of a shock for Harry to discover on his 11th birthday that he was a wizard." As in Crowley's Satanism, in the Harry Potter series, the number 11 takes on special significance.
Crowley was not a Satanist.
Crowley writes that, quote, 11 is a number of magic in itself. He also writes that 11, quote, is a sacred number par excellence of the new age or new eon.
11, along with many other numbers depending on context, can be associated with any number of things. The number 11 by itself represents, and here's the shocker, the number 11. You are the one who introduced the number 11 arbitrarily, saying that Crowley claimed he killed a cat at age 11, when Crowley claims to have done this at age 14, not 11. You introduced the number 11, and it is based off nothing but your own mistake.
It is written in the book of the law, 11, as all their numbers who are of us.
In this context, the number 11 has Kabbalistic meaning. 11 by itself with no other association becomes mute, impotent, and mundane.
Crowley claimed that the number 11 was his magic number. Crowley began to spell magic with the letter K at the end of magic because the letter K is the 11th letter of the alphabet and had a special Kabbalistic meaning to Crowley as a Satanist.
Nope. Numbers can be associated with anything, really, depending upon the context. Crowley was not a Satanist. How many times have I said this? Oh, you're not here. You're not listening. You're not watching this video. Why am I saying this? For Kabbalists, and I'm unclear as to why they are being thrown into this cavalcade of crazy, any numbers could have importance. Crowley spelled magic with a K to distinguish it from stage magic. In 1685, a book appeared in English translation with the title The Magick of Kirani, King of Persia, and Harpocration, the first recorded use of the spelling of magic with a K. The popularity in spelling magic with a K grew in the early 19th century for magicians to differentiate between stage magic and ceremonial magic, which is what the different spelling has come to represent.
Not only does Harry realize that he has occult powers at the age of 11, but the length of Harry's wand seems to have special significance, as is perfectly suited for Harry Potter. In Harry Potter, the Goblet of Fire, page 310, we read, quote, Harry had weighed what felt like every wand in the shop. At last, he had found one that suited him. This one, which was made of holly, 11 inches long.
Maybe the number 11 has some significance to J.K. Rowling. Traditionally, ceremonial magic and witchcraft suggest a wand to be made of a certain type of wood and be the length of one's arm from the elbow to the tips of your fingers, which on average is about 1.5 feet or 18 inches long. And the wand of hazel or nut tree, in all cases the wood being virgin, that is of 1 year's growth only. Key of Solomon, Book 2, page 99. J.K. Rowling may have miscalculated this as being the length of a wand as the distance from the elbow to the wrist, which is on average about 12 inches, or more likely had her own reasons for specifying the length. Maybe it has some significance later on in the story.
Both Crowley and Harry did not only get their starts as sorcerers at the same age and under similar circumstances.
Similar circumstances? They were both age 11 at one time. Not sure if you know this or not, but Harry Potter is a fictional character.
But they both had distinguishing marks as children that revealed that they were sorcerers. For Harry Potter, this distinguishing mark, of course, was a lightning bolt. Crowley states in his Confessions, at birth I had 3 distinguishing marks. He states that, quote, over the center of my heart I had 4 hairs curling from left to right in the exact form of a swastika. Before Hitler was, I am.
Crowley writes about this from the third person in the Confessions up and to the point where his father passes away, and then Crowley switches to the first person after that. Your quote is in the first person, and the actual quote reads, her firstborn son, the aforesaid, was remarkable from the moment of his arrival. He bore on his body the 3 most important distinguishing marks of a Buddha. He was tongue-tied, and on the 2nd day of his incarnation a surgeon cut the fernum linguae. He had also the characteristic membrane which necessitated an operation of phimosis some 3 lustres later. Lastly, he had upon the center of his heart 4 hairs curling from left to right in the exact form of a swastika. The exact same quote is written in A Magic Life, a biography of Aleister Crowley by Martin Booth on page 4 through 5, and Do What Thou Wilt, a Life of Aleister Crowley by Lawrence Sutton on pages 15 through 16. There is no mention of the words before Hitler was I am. Not only is the quote inaccurate, it also delineates from the context. The swastika is the Eastern Star symbol of Buddhism. The odd birthmark of 4 hairs forming a swastika, I don't know if it's true. And if it is, so what? Lots of people have birthmarks, and it's nothing really unusual.
Harry has a distinguishing mark on his forehead as well, which is an ancient occult symbol, a Nazi-stylized lightning bolt.
You are thinking of the Nazi SS, which are two lightning bolt-like symbols, but they are lower right across upper left. Harry Potter has one scar in the shape of a lightning bolt going from the lower left across to upper right. As for the origin of the SS symbol, which may have stemmed from the rune Suulo, that would be of Anglo-Saxon or Icelandic folklore and has absolutely nothing to do with the Nazis, who still hold this symbol hostage despite being dismantled and forced out of power nearly 73 years ago.
In an interview with Scholastic, when J.K. Rowling was asked, quote, "Why did you choose the lightning bolt as a trademark for Harry Potter?" Rowling stated, quote, "Just because I decided that it would be an interesting and distinctive mark," end quote. It is interesting that Harry Potter's lightning bolt and Crowley's swastika both share a similar occult history.
Oh, you mean the fictional Harry Potter's lightning bolt, which has absolutely no similarity to Aleister Crowley's claimed birthmark of 4 hairs that formed a swastika? Even stretching as far as we possibly can to make some kind of a connection here, there is none. They are both in different spots, comprised of different elements and different images, and there is nothing in common.
The lightning bolt has long been a symbol in the occult and Satanism.
No. Any symbol or representation of something could be used or seen as a cult. Any number, letter, shape, character, rune, or really anything, if used as such with a purpose or in a specific context of use, by itself out of any other context or meaning, the lightning symbol could represent danger, flash, electricity, shock, or enlightenment, which is probably why J.K. Rowling chose that particular symbol to represent enlightenment, power, and knowledge.
Crowley taught that the Satanist was to find his own magical path, and that he was to follow the satanic maxim, "Do what thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law," to realize his true destiny as a magician.
It is amazing how your tone of voice makes it sound like independent thought is somehow wrong and that everyone should blindly fall in line. The occult is the complete opposite of that philosophy, and Crowley encouraged such exploration. And do I really have to say it again? Fine. Crowley was not a Satanist. The full Thelemic saying is, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." Love is the law, love under will. It is a kind of mantra or way of focus for Thelemites. That is the end of this video. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like this video and share on your social media. Until next time, see you in hell, you heathens. Which is on average about 12 inches, or more likely to fanciful speculations and hypothesis. Eyes, that power which God has not willed, but which to know.